David met?
So the very first time David and myself met was on Instagram, social media. So David told me that he inherited a farm from his parents, and at the time he was only 24 years old. And he also told me on his little text that he asked this friend to see if he can help David with the processing and fermentation, because David's coffees were not that great to be exported. They were capping 81, 82 points. So this friend said, well, I don't have experience in the processing, but read this book. So he gave David the Coffee Man book. So David read it inside out, and he asked me a couple of the particular questions that I knew did come from the book. And him being so humble and so caring and so nice, I kept replying to his messages and actually decided to visit him 2 months later when I was traveling to Kenya. Because I had a very busy schedule, I only had 2 hours available to spend with him. So we arranged a time to have a dinner together and have a discussion. And I was impressed with his kindness and his givingness. And this is something that I'll never forget that night. Knowing that back then David was struggling growing the coffees. His coffees were 81, 82 points. He's in a survival mode. And people, when they are usually in a survival mode, they don't necessarily think of others as much. They try to put the food on the table for themselves. But his instinct went elsewhere. Well, I'm struggling, other people must be struggling as well, that are producing these coffees from generation to generation. So his kind heart, decided to start this alliance of the coffee farmers. So if one is struggling, let's struggle together. And let's actually share the ideas together to see how we can fertilize coffees organically, cheaper, and in a better way, how we can pick the coffees, how we can prune the coffees, and how we can also process and dry the coffees. This was his own initiative, which I found it inspiring and impressive. And thankfully to his kindness and his givingness, he obviously opened up my heart to sort of see what we can do in a Project Origin team in order to support this community. So first of all, my goal to support David and the community is not necessarily for Project Origin to start working together with David. It was very, in a giving nature, I've decided to put forward some funds on that same night and to see if David can do certain processes, carbonic maceration processes, and whether this can help him to improve his quality of the coffee. Luckily, I was traveling to Kenya 2 months later again. So my first travel was during the season to help with the fermentation and processing with our current clients and the farmers. And then I was going to go again end of February to taste all of these coffees. So luckily for David and myself, we had been in a situation to actually do the same protocols with David. So after providing some funds, David purchasing the equipment, he started processing the protocols that we have given him. 2 months later, I went back to his beautiful farm, and wow, coffees were amazing. From 82, 83 point coffees, we were tasting some 88s, 89s, and some beautiful, beautiful profiles. I remember when I was cupping these coffees and David was just standing in a corner so quietly, so shy, and thinking, my coffee is gonna be so bad. And one of the coffees was that good that I just couldn't hold it. I said, this is amazing. And the joy and the happiness that brought to his eyes was priceless. So we both had an amazing time. And that moment showed as well, we can do a lot more here. Not only to help David with his farm and his coffees, but with his giving heart, we can do really good change for this entire community. So for me, David Maguta's story, it's like a fairy tale story. Looking at when I met David for the very first time, with all of the struggles back in 2018, the beginning, starting of the farm, and remembering his amazing core values, kindness and givingness and the community. But now, being involved, using his coffee in the World Championships, having the best coffee in Africa, what I most admire about him, that his core values are still the same. He's very polite, very giving, very caring person, and he wants to do the best he can for his community and everyone around him. So I'm humbled to be his friend, and I cannot wait to see the next amazing thing that he's going to achieve in his life.